If the United States were to decide, and I'm not saying that it should, but if the United States were to decide we didn't want cryptocurrency to happen in the United States and tried to ban it, I'm pretty confident we couldn't succeed in doing that because this is a global innovation.
Not quite a funny intro, but a feel-good one nonetheless. Hello, my name is Cam. You may not have heard of me in a while.
That is a challenge that every government in the world now faces, that money, digital money, will move frictionlessly everywhere in the world at the speed of the internet, hopefully with a high level of security and data protection around it. There's the flip side, which is how does law enforcement get its job done, and how do 190 countries get an agreement about that. FATF guidelines, for example, that are specific to virtual assets have come into place, which I think could be a roadmap to that as well.
It's a crazy time to be alive. This world-changing technology is pretty simple at the end of the day, but it has governments the world over scratching their heads about what to do with it. Shall we embrace one of the greatest revolutions in human history, certainly since the internet, or ban it because it shakes up the powers that be? So let's look at Bitcoin, I guess. Almost nothing has changed since I was away this weekend. I came back and both my internet lines were down. They're back up now, obviously. We can see just how little things are changing by going to the 4-hour charts. It really does display just how much Bitcoin is reducing in volatility and squeezing tighter within this wedge. One thing I've come to expect from wedges is crispy fries better, sorry that was a bad joke, is that once a breakout happens, which it will, it can be quite violent. As things currently stand, it has to be said, this is very impressive. For Bitcoin to still be up here after rallying so quickly is very impressive. Lots of resilience needed to do that. Just how rapid this movement was is shown quite well on this picture. Not that one. That's spoilers. Not that one. Damn it. Now, a lot of these log scales are getting passed around. They're pretty, they're nice. Look at those lines. Far more prominent now that Bitcoin has slowed down. I'm not the biggest fan of these, simply because these lines can be redrawn if Bitcoin doesn't actually tend to follow it. And there's no real reason for Bitcoin to follow them once they have been drawn. However, they can still be interesting, at least I hope you think so, because we're going to talk about it. Do you think so? Hello? Blocked. I don't need life insurance, I have Bitcoin. Theorists argue if Bitcoin follows this curve, the growth is healthier, or in other words, more sustainable with less volatility, and any move that precedes or comes before this line is risky. Now, this is terrible news for anyone that wants the price of Bitcoin to go up, because if true, that means the actual bull market would not start until the end of this year at the very earliest. Sounds about right to me. If Bitcoin heavily traces from here, and that's a big if. The more astute of you, however, will notice the similarities between these two rallies and these two rallies, which was indeed sustainable with the second one there. Now the bears would argue that you cannot actually compare these two because they are different in scale and scope. For example, this one did have a prolonged period of crashing, just like this one did. However, it scraped along this bottom line. This one barely even touched it.
Oh! It's a bear!
Yo, Bear, what are you doing?
The bulls, however, will argue that it only makes sense that things are getting quicker. Why should you expect them to be around the same time frames, bull-bear market cycles, when there are far more on-ramps into crypto than ever before? It's never been easier and continues to get easier. Even the so-called, much maligned, much discussed institutions actually do have a much easier time getting into Bitcoin now than they ever have had previously. But what are the chances Bitcoin continues to go up from here? Well, 68%. And I'm not just making that number up, actually. According to a study by Bolowski shared by Galaxy on Twitter, based on previous data of hundreds of trades, a falling wedge, which categorically Bitcoin is in right now, has a 68% chance of breaking out upwards. 68% isn't bad. This is just a pit stop on the race to 100,000. But that's it from me. good to be back, seeing all of your happy, smiling faces in crypto. That's a joke. Yeah, it is a joke. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one.